Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Last week I made a video about Japanese visas and all the different types of Japanese visas that you can get if you want to come and work in Japan. And I mentioned that I'm going to make a separate video about the costs of life and the costs associated with moving to Japan. Basically talk about money. So this is that video. I'll try to cover all of the most important expenses you can expect to have when moving here, some steps to do before and after moving to Japan, and also I'll try to give you tips and tricks throughout this video on how to save money and where to find good deals, etc. At the end of the video, we're also going to look at a breakdown of all of the average monthly costs for living in Tokyo, so stay tuned. Okay, let's start. First things first, let me remind you that right now it's extremely difficult, if not downright impossible, to move to Japan because of the coronavirus. But it's a golden opportunity to make sure you have everything you need, double and triple check everything, and then come here fully prepared and fully armed with all the foresight available through YouTube. God, that was so cringy. For the purposes of this video, I'm going to assume that you've already covered all of the basics, like you have your visa, you have your job offer, you're pretty sure you're going to actually move here, right? Anyway, I would strongly suggest the first thing you do is make a list of things to do before and after moving to Japan. Basically, that's what I did, just to make, my life easier, get a load off my back, and not have to think about so many things, It just makes the transition smoother. Right, so let's go step by step. Securing some form of housing or another is going to be your top priority before coming to Japan, period. One thing that's the easiest to get, in my opinion, is a room at a share house, at least for the first month. A little background info as to why I said that. You see, when it comes to renting apartments, Japan has its fair share of underlying issues. In a recent survey of the Japan Property Management Association members, only about 40% of landlords said that they would even consider renting an apartment to foreigners, quoting as the reason for this answer, right? Two things. One, their own lack of English ability, and two, the belief that foreigners will find it difficult to adjust to living in a Japanese apartment and might disrupt the harmony of the building by throwing wild parties or, God forbid, throwing away trash on a non-designated trash day. So, your chances of getting an actual apartment before even coming to Japan are about the same as meeting the emperor at the airport and shaking his hand. Not zero, but not very good either. I will make a video in the future about getting a proper apartment and going through all the right channels, such as visiting a real estate agency, getting all of the paperwork in order, etc. But for now, you should forget about that idea. This leaves us with only a few other options: serviced apartments and share houses. Serviced apartments are basically an Airbnb kind of thing, which means that you can rent a fully furnished, completely functional apartment for 1 month and onwards. But the trade-off is that the rent you will be paying is about 50 to 100% higher than the rent would be for a similar apartment in the same neighborhood, especially if you're moving to Tokyo or Kanagawa. It's a ripoff, I know, but it is what it is. Now, the cheapest and I believe best option for people freshly moving into Japan is to get a room at a share house. Share houses are essentially communal living properties. You get your own private room, but you have to share the toilet or showers, right, and kitchen with other tenants. A definite advantage to this is that you will very easily meet new people, especially in share houses with larger communal areas, right? And networking at this point, especially with people who are on a similar life path as you, is really invaluable. You can get so many tips and tricks on how to get around. It's amazing. The downside, of course, is you have to share the toilet, shower, and kitchen with the other tenants, and not all of them are clean. Also, if you're unfortunate enough to choose a scummy share house, you'll probably face Yakuza-style intimidation and attempts to extort as much money from you as possible. They will try to charge you for the tiniest little thing. So, be careful, use your head, and do plenty of research beforehand. Now, this is not a sponsored video, but there are some companies that I'd like to recommend, and I'll show them to you on screen here. Number one, definitely Freebell in Nagoya, which is the first place I stayed at when I first came to Japan. Their apartments are comfortable, spacious, affordable, and most importantly, the people working there are some of the nicest I have ever met, and they helped me so much when I needed it most. If anyone from Freebell is watching this, kudos to you. I love you and I miss you. Then we have Borderless House, which has multiculturality as its selling point. Basically, they say here on their website, Borderless House is a multicultural share house company, managing the houses with the equal ratio of the locals and the foreigners. This might be an excellent opportunity to practice your Japanese, you never know. And finally, Oak House, which is basically one of the biggest out there, so you're pretty much guaranteed to get a room somewhere. One thing I haven't tried myself, but have heard many interesting stories about, is this social apartment concept. Basically, it's a slightly luxurious accommodation which promises to enable you to get the best of both worlds. Private space plus luxurious designer lounges. If anyone here is interested, I'll leave a link in the description, also to everything else I mentioned in the video, of course. So please let me know what you think. I haven't tried this company myself, but I have heard good things, so go for it. Okay, now for the prices. These will depend heavily on location, but you should never pay more than 70,000 yen for a room at a share house. Anything higher than that is highway robbery. In comparison, the serviced apartments I mentioned earlier go for a minimum of 120,000 yen, or around 1,200 bucks, for an apartment that's the size of this room. In any case, whenever possible, you should ask your future employer where will you be working at, and then base your search off of that. That's also going to make your daily commute much more bearable. Oh yeah, one more thing before I forget. Make sure to check with your landlord exactly what is included in the rent and what will be waiting for you when you arrive at the accommodation. I made the grave mistake of not doing that, and I completely didn't realize that the apartment I will be moving into in Nagoya doesn't come with any bed sheets or beddings of any sort. So for the first 2 nights I slept covered with my coat until I managed to go out and buy a blanket. Hanko, or a personal seal, is what replaces your signature while you're in Japan. You don't really have to have one, but not having it significantly reduces your options when it comes to opening a bank account or signing any contract, etc. So there are 3 types of hanko based on importance. Right? The most important one is the jitsuin, or your real seal. This one has your real name on it, and you use it to sign many different kinds of important documents, like for example when renting an apartment or buying a car or anything like that. I had to register my jitsuin when I was renting this apartment because it was a precondition demanded by the landlord. And when you do that, you get a little card like this. Sorry, I had to cover the private information. This basically means that your seal is registered, it's legit, and you can get a certificate with a copy of your seal on it. Looks really cute, actually. The second type is the ginko-in. Ginko means bank, so ginko-in is a financial seal. You use it for financial matters. Here's an example. This one's mine. I find this very useful because every time you go to a bank and you have any kind of paperwork, right, you need to sign it. And having this thing and stamping this thing is much faster than having to sign a lot of papers by hand, because in most banks, somebody is going to compare that signature to the one they have on file from when you opened the account. It can take ages, and if you've missed one line, just like at a different angle by 10 degrees, they're not going to accept your signature. So just get a hanko and forget about all the hassle. It's possible to use the same seal as both the Jitsuin and the Ginkoin, which is what I do, but it's not recommended, because if you lose this, it's not going to be pretty. The third type is the Mitomein, and this is basically your daily seal or everyday activity seal. You can use this whenever you have some kind of confirmation paperwork to sign. Like, for example, if you receive a package that you need to sign for. Plonk. Or at schools, this is quite a common thing. You need to sign a document saying that you've read something given to you by another teacher. Plonk. Your Mitomein can be anything you want. Basically, I've chosen these kanji because I like their meaning, and they can be read as mi and ro, so miro, right? But your Ginkoin and your Jitsuin must be your real name. Now, here's the problem. As a foreigner, you don't have a kanji name. You will use a katakana name. So the stamp, I would suggest making it in the katakana version of your last name. In most cases, if you just choose some kind of kanji that you like because they can be read similarly to your name, then that stamp is going to get refused because you're not Japanese. You don't have the right to use kanji. There is a process by which you can register kanji to your name, but it's quite lengthy and complicated, and don't worry about it just now. You're just coming to Japan. You don't need to worry about that. The other requirement is that the Ginkoin or the Jitsuin must be made of a resilient material. It can't be made of plastic or rubber or anything that degrades easily. It needs to be wood, buffalo horn, stone, things like that. This will set you back around 4,000 yen, roughly $38 on average. But of course, if your budget can handle it, then by all means go for the titanium or the molybdenum versions. There's choices out there. Jade, you know. Your hanko is going to be with you for the rest of your life. You might as well make it a thing to talk about. The shop that I used is this one we're watching right now on screen, called Hankoya. And they have a huge selection of materials and seal styles for any purpose. Now, what I did was I first reserved my apartment, and then I had the hanko delivered to that address on the day of my arrival. That way I saved on international shipping, and I could immediately go and get most of my paperwork in order the very next day, which saved me a lot of time. Finally, since this website is generally not used by tourists, you can be sure that they're not going to make you something that you can't use for official purposes. It's in Japanese originally, it's not in English, but I'm using Google Translate, which I strongly suggest you install into your browser. It's a browser extension from Google. If you're using Chrome, it comes native, I think, not sure. But in any case, get Google Translate. It makes your life so much easier. Okay, this might sound like a minor detail, but did you know you can save thousands of yen by researching ways to get around Tokyo? There are actually many ways of getting into Tokyo from both Narita and Haneda Airport. But if you're coming in from Narita and you want to save some money, and you want to get the best comfort for your buck, I'd suggest taking the bus. Not the 3,500 yen limousine bus that is advertised everywhere around the airport. The Keisei bus. This bus costs 1,300 yen from Narita to Tokyo, and I absolutely love it. First of all, I can leave my luggage down in the luggage compartment and not worry about it sliding out of the luggage rack on the train and hurting other passengers or getting in the way when people get on and off. And secondly, I can comfortably take a nap in the bus seat and get rid of some of the jet lag. It's a win-win for me. For comparison's sake, a train ticket for the Narita Express from Narita to Tokyo costs 3 times as much. Another good thing about this bus service is you can buy tickets online in advance. This lets you ration your expenses a little bit, but honestly, when I come in to the airport, the last thing I want to do is stand in line at the airport exchange office for ages or have to use my credit card to pay for something and pay exorbitant international fees. So that's kind of a win-win for me. Anyway, you feel free to do whatever fits your budget, of course, but my advice would be to research all possible options and make the best of it. Now, okay, this is going to be on a case-by-case basis, of course, but I would really suggest researching what kind of community networks are available around you, especially if you will not be living in a share house, but an apartment. Sometimes you will stumble upon quite a decent bunch of people who will help you get acclimatized more quickly. And also, on social networks, you can find a lot of sayonara sales, right? A sayonara sale is basically when people are leaving Japan and they decide to sell off all of their property, right? I mean, you can use this to get a really good deal for a lot of household items, because why would you pay full price for a piece of furniture that you're only going to use for 1 year, maybe 2 years? Honestly, I think this kind of goes without saying, but you might want to research the general layout of your future neighborhood. Go on Google Maps, see where is the nearest supermarket, what kind of restaurants are nearby, where can you get your hair cut, is there a park where you can go jogging for a couple of hours if you're into that. All of this sounds trivial right now, but trust me, when you actually come to Japan, you're going to be so disorganized and lost for the first couple of days that being mentally prepared for this kind of discombobulation will be extremely useful. Also, at this point, you might want to check out things like prices of daily necessities, prices of food, etc. Japan doesn't have a very steep inflation, so I don't expect prices to change significantly until at least 2023. But with the current pandemic and with the current situation, nobody can really foresee what's going to happen in the near or far future. So do your research. There's always going to be some YouTube videos about supermarket visit, trip to Costco, etc. Check out how much you're expected to pay for things. Generally speaking, meat is the most expensive. On average, beef is around 138, 150, up to 500 yen for 100 grams. Chicken is around 100 yen for 100 grams, etc. This is closely followed by vegetables, dairy, fruit. Cheese is really expensive, so keep that in mind. Another thing you want to research is Daiso, or a similar 100 yen shop. This kind of shop is an absolute lifesaver when it comes to household items, stationery, basic cleaning supplies, etc. You can get pretty much anything you need to get settled in immediately at one place. For example, plates, glasses, cutlery, cooking utensils, batteries, extension cords, power adapters, cables, you name it. Speaking of extension cords and power cables, be careful with your electronic devices. If you're coming from the United States or from Europe, Japan has a different power system than either one of those places. The voltage in Japan is 100 volts, whereas in the US it's 120, and in Europe it's 220 to 230. But Japan's voltage runs on two frequencies. The frequency border is between Shizuoka and Nagano, with 50 Hz in the east and 60 Hz in the west. This means that Tokyo uses a 50 Hz power, while Osaka and Nagoya use 60 Hz. If you're concerned about whether or not you can use a particular device in Japan, I'd suggest going to the manufacturer's website, maybe shooting them an email, or just consult the manual that you've gotten. Most devices are going to be okay, but don't take what I say at face value. If you have MacBooks, laptops, computers, sensitive electronics, check if you can use them in Japan. Also, US and EU use a different size and different shape of plug than Japan does, so you're also going to need to get an adapter for this. Don't waste money on this at huge supermarkets or department stores, because in Daiso you will pay 100 yen for this kind of adapter, but in Big Camera or Lobby or some kind of electronics store, it's going to cost you 15 to 20 times as much. Okay, so that's about it for things to prepare before coming to Japan. If you have any questions about anything I've said until now, this is a good chance to pause the video and leave a comment. Okay, moving on to things to do after coming to Japan. Actually, these two things are kind of connected in a catch-22 type situation, so I will talk about them together. You see, you can't open a bank account without a Japanese mobile phone number, and you can't get a phone number without a Japanese bank account. So as a workaround, just to make your life much easier, here's what I did. Step 1. Get a 050 online phone number from Skype. This will set you back around $3 to $5 for 1 month, depending on your home country, and it will function and be accepted as a Japanese phone number. Step number 2. Go to a bank and open a bank account. Personally, I would recommend Japan Post Bank, also called Yucho Ginko, because they have ATMs and branch offices everywhere. But another good one is Mizuho. I know a lot of people who use that one. Be careful when choosing a bank, because some of them will not let you open an account unless you've been in Japan for more than 6 months. Others will not let you open an account if your visa is for less than 3 years, etc. So, check the requirements before you actually go to a bank. Alternatively, you could always ask your employer which bank do they recommend for new hires. Step 3. Use your Skype number in your application form to open the account. You will get a passbook called Tsucho immediately. I don't have one here to show you, but after about a week, you'll get a cash card delivered to your home address. And this is a funny little thing. It looks like a payment card, but you can only use this to withdraw money from the ATM. You cannot use it for payment. So you have to apply for a payment card, because the payment card you get cannot be used for payment. Step 4. Go to a carrier of your choice. You can choose 3 basically, SoftBank, au or Docomo, and use your new bank account to get a real Japanese phone number. Step 5. Go back to the bank and change your phone number from the Skype number to the real number. You can also sign up for online banking and then do this online at some point in time, so no rush. Step 6. Register both your new bank account information and your mobile phone number with your employer, because these are prerequisites for actually being paid and starting to work. there you have it. 6 steps, and a couple of hours later, you have both your account and your Japanese mobile phone number. One point of importance to note when visiting a carrier. Anyone that you choose will try to sell you a bunch of different options and a new phone, which is normal. It would happen in every country in the world with every carrier. But if you're really polite with them and you just tell them flat out that you don't plan to stay in Japan that long, so you just need the most basic options and the most basic functionality, 99% of the time they're just going to leave you alone and give you the cheapest possible option, which enables you to get a Japanese mobile phone number. Of course, if this is what you want, by all means, get a new phone, get a 2-year contract, get the Netflix pack. It doesn't matter, it's up to you. Make sure, however, if you're not comfortable dealing with this in Japanese, make sure to either have an English-speaking staff member, or in most cases they will have a phone interpreter service available for you, so ask for that, just to be on the safe side. Okay, as for the cost of these things, opening an account is either completely free or has some minor charge like 50 yen or 100 yen or something like that. Also, the account maintenance fee is usually free. As for the phone, you pay for the options you choose, but be warned, having a phone in Japan is not cheap. The bare minimum you can get away with is 3,000 to 5,000 yen a month, but depending on the options you got, it can go up to 20 or 25,000 yen per month. So be careful. Finally, last step, getting a train pass. Every area in Japan has its own brand of IC pass, or transportation pass. In Nagoya, it's Manaka. In Tokyo, it's Suica or Pasmo. But it doesn't matter, because all of these cards, regardless of the brand, are interchangeable. And you can use either one of them in almost any other area in Japan. Now, I don't know about other brands, but if you have an iPhone 7 or later, you can get a mobile Suica installed on it, and that lets you use your phone as a ticket. It lets you go through the ticket gates at the station with just your phone. If you prefer, you can also get a physical card. It literally looks like something like this. There's card machines at every major train station. The menu on these machines is in English, so that really shouldn't be a problem. But if you want detailed instructions on how to get a Suica or different kind of transportation card from a machine, just search on YouTube. There's a lot of videos, there's a lot of websites about that. Because honestly, if I go into every little detail, this video is going to be hours and hours long. Anyway, my advice here is to get the 6-month pass instead of a 1-month pass. In Japan, it's traditional for the company to pay your transportation costs, and they do this by attaching the price or the cost of the monthly fare to your salary each month. But let us compare the monthly ticket costs. A very useful website which most companies use when calculating your travel allowance is Hyperia, so we'll use that too. It's in English, Japanese and Chinese, as you can see, and this is how it works. Basically, let's say you want to go from Tokyo Station to Yokohama. Type in the places, the date and time, when do you want to go, hit search. It's going to give you an overview of the different train lines, so here, and the different routes that you can take. Now, the most important information here is the price. So a one-way ticket, if you buy it at the ticket machine or if you use your Suica, it's 480 yen. A 1-month train pass is 14,170 yen. But a 6-month pass is 67,980 yen, which means that if you were to buy a monthly pass each month, you would have to pay 85,020 yen. But if you buy the 6-month pass immediately, it's going to cost you only 67,980 yen. This is a huge difference. This means that you get to keep 17,040 yen. Let's say 17,000. So every month your employer is going to give you 14,170 yen for the monthly pass. But if you have a 6-month pass, you can just save 17,000 yen total over a period of 6 months. So you see, by investing a little more money up front, you actually end up saving money. And then when the salary starts coming in, you'll have that extra little bit left over for the first few months to help get you settled in. Well, this is pretty much all I can think of about preparing to move to Japan. Is there anything I've missed? Do you have questions about anything? This is a good chance to pause the video and leave a comment. Okay, now let's look at a breakdown of monthly expenses and monthly costs you can expect to pay for living in Japan. And I'm going to base this off of Tokyo values simply because they're the highest. So life in Tokyo is the most expensive, and if you go to another place, you can instantly tell that it's going to be cheaper than what we have here. And I'm going to go with higher estimates just to give you a little bit of a bumper space or a kind of a cushion area, you know, just to be on the safe side. And I've made an Excel file, so let's take a look at that. Right, for essential costs, we have rent, utilities, transportation, and food at the supermarket, because with these essential costs, we're basically trying to save money. The rent is going to cost you between 70,000 and 100,000, depending on what kind of accommodation you get. Let's put 85,000 as the median value. Right? Like I said, just to be on the safe side. Now, most of the time, this amount of rent is going to also include the utilities. But in case it doesn't, utilities in Tokyo are not that expensive. For example, I live in Kanagawa. I live near Yokohama. But for my apartment, and I have a lot of electronic devices, trust me. For my apartment, I pay around 6,000 yen per month for electricity, 1,500 or 2,000 yen for gas, and around 3,500 every 3 months for water and sewage. So let's say that worst case scenario, you're going to pay 10,000 yen for utilities every month. Transportation is pretty much going to depend on you. So your monthly ticket is going to be covered by the company, right? You don't have to worry about that. But any other place you go to, you will have to pay for it by yourself. And this also includes taxis and different things, right? So let's say 5,000 a month is a very reasonable average amount that you're going to have to pay for transportation out of pocket. Okay, we're at 100,000. Food at the supermarket is going to cost you on average, if we assume that you cook for yourself every day, you don't go out that much. Maybe you buy a couple of bentos from the convenience store or some pre-cooked meal from a shop, etc. We're putting all of that into this calculation, right? So buying food at the supermarket and preparing it yourself every day is going to cost you around 35,000 yen per month. Now, adding to this non-essential costs like eating out. An average meal at a restaurant, if you are eating by yourself and it's not a really fancy place, is between 600 and 900 yen. But let's say you want to go out with a friend or a significant other, you want to pay for them as well, and you want to go to a mid-range restaurant. A dinner for two at a mid-level restaurant is going to cost you between 5 and 10,000 yen each time. If you do that twice a month, let's say 20,000 yen just for food. Clothes. You can get really nice and cheap clothes in Japan. Let's say if you buy a t-shirt every month, although I don't know why anybody would do that. Maybe that's my thing. I really hate shopping, but never mind. So if you want to buy something, a little something for yourself every month, that's about 3,000 or 5,000. Let's put 5 just to be on the safe side. Sports. Do you want a gym membership? Do you practice any kind of sport that requires equipment, that requires using a particular location, like baseball? This kind of expense is going to be quite high. So gym memberships, you can find communal gyms which let you exercise there, and you pay usually 500 yen per session. If you want a monthly membership with like a high profile gym, that's going to be around 20,000. But let's put the average value of around 8,500, which is quite the norm for Tokyo for a monthly gym membership. Leisure is what I call reading books, maybe renting a movie, getting Netflix subscription, of course, things like that. Having a walk, I mean, even just going out, you want to buy a drink from a vending machine or something. So let's put this at around 15,000 yen a month. And going out, this is where your expenses are going to skyrocket. So going out in Tokyo can be really cheap if you're just going to the local pub, the local izakaya, meeting a friend, having a couple of beers, some snack, and then going home. Going out to more popular places like Shibuya, Shinjuku, Roppongi, Ikebukuro, things like that. Going to clubbing. Oh my. There's no overnight transportation in Japan at all. So if you want to go home at 1 or 2 a.m., there are no trains, there are no buses. You have to take a taxi. Some clubs will charge you a table fee, which is basically like an extra tip kind of thing, but it's mandatory. Some will charge you 2,000 yen per glass of juice. This is completely going to be your thing. So choose the kind of place where you want to go, and based on that, the price is also going to change. But let's say on average, for the most basic version of going to an izakaya, meeting your friend, having a couple of beers, that's going to be around 10,000 a month. And there we have it. This is our grand total, 193,500 yen per month. Like I said, this is on the high end, right? So on average, people spend around 180,000, 185 maybe. It's all individual. A really good website you can use is this one, Numbeo or Numbeo, or however you want to read it. It gives you a really detailed breakdown of the prices of the cost of life in Tokyo. And this is pretty accurate, actually. Let's say now, domestic beer, half a liter, draught from 250 to 700 yen. Yeah, this is average, you know. You know, if you buy it at a supermarket, it's going to be around 200 yen. But these are restaurant prices, so the cheapest one, 250, yeah, I can see that happening. A liter of milk from 170 to 250 yen. Yes, that is the average price, right? Take a look at this website, compare the prices. It's going to give you a full breakdown of the most important things, the most important costs of living in Tokyo. Okay, guys, that's it. I really think I've covered everything. I can't remember anything else. So if you have any kind of feedback, or if you have questions, anything else that you'd like to know, that you'd like me to cover, please leave a comment. Tell me what you think. I'll try to get back to as many people as possible. I will read all the comments, definitely. Leave a like, and if you haven't yet, please consider subscribing for future updates and future videos. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope that your incoming journey is going to be smooth and painless. So, see you in Japan, I guess. Bye bye.